Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you this afternoon to Native American territory within the confines of Turtle Island. My name is George Stonefish. I am a Delaware Chippewa and a lifelong member of New York City's community. I am also a board member of the American Indian Community House. Today's action is a response to Mayor Michael Bloomberg's statements made on the John Gambling's August 13th radio show, in which the mayor said to John Gambling, and you know, Indians said, we're going to shut down the roads if we don't let us continue to sell cigarettes without taxes. Now, why every governor, and I said this to David Paterson, I said, you know, get yourself a cowboy hat and a shotgun. And if there's ever a great video, it's you standing in the middle of the New York State Thruway saying, you know, read my lips. The law of the land is this, and we're going to enforce it. But just think about it. Mayor Bloomberg, last week I had to sit at my dining table and explain to my grandchildren why the mayor of New York City, where we live, would make such a racist statement and encourage violence against our people, the original inhabitants of New York State. Mayor Bloomberg, history is replete with violence against Native Americans. Why would you encourage violence and injury to the residents of the state of New York? Mayor Bloomberg, your current and past actions against Native Americans illustrates a bias that cannot be tolerated. Mayor Bloomberg, you must make an immediate apology, a public apology, to all Indians for your racist statements and your promotion of violence against them. Mayor Bloomberg, if your statements result in injury to the people of this state, you will have to make amends with your God for your actions. Mayor Bloomberg, you must smother the embers of bias and ignorance about your people by talking to our leaders, rather than advocating force against and opposing you. Mayor Bloomberg, rather than advising Governor Paterson to take violence against Native Americans, you should follow his example and sit down at the table to reach an understanding government to government. I now ask the representatives from the New York tribes to speak. Our first person will be Harry Wallace of the Puspatuck Nation of Long Island.
Masaki manidu, ni wuche wana nituang tabutne anawaya. Masaki manidu, kuwe kwe tumash wana ni mona nini mi sinuwa. Mitok I na pamata kwa wana numa tabutne anawaya. Ayasuna kwa kuisama. I give thanks to our Creator for the blessings that we have received in the past. And we ask our Creator to continue to bless us and to keep us all safe. I give thanks to our Earth Mother for life and health and for the sustenance she provides. My name is Harry Wallace, and I am the chief of the Unkechaug Nation on the Puspatuck Reservation on Long Island. We call this press conference to voice our objection to Mayor of New York City's use of imagery derogatory to the First Nations people of North America in his attempt to pressure Governor David Paterson to use violence, if necessary, in order to impose an unlawful act on the territories of Indian nations in New York State. The image of a cowboy and a shotgun on the highways of New York does not represent law and order, but a history of repression, violence, and cultural genocide. As someone who was born in this city, personally lived and worked here in the past, I know that New Yorkers don't cowboy up. We leave that to other cities and other places. To the Unkechaug, this insensitive language is an expansion of a discriminatory campaign to terminate our rights started in 2005 with multiple lawsuits directed at our people, the piling on of political and attempted judicial opposition to our economic stability, the scapegoating of the Onkachog as the reason for the economic crisis in New York, and the solicitation and support of legislation to terminate our very right to exist. We have successfully thwarted these efforts with a spirit of determination and unified will, and will continue to do so. On behalf of the Onkachog, I call on Governor Paterson to publicly reject this insidious invective. The governor has stated in the past that resolution of this problem will only be found at the table where the parties come together in good faith. The Onkachog have always been steadfast in its resolve to protect its right to engage in lawful economic activity, but it has always been ready, willing, and able to dialogue with the governor to try to resolve our differences. We also call upon Governor to delay the attempted enforcement of illegal acts and allow dialogue to continue. We also call upon the people of New York City and the people of New York State to contact the Mayor of New York and voice your displeasure over this racially discriminatory language, and contact Governor David Paterson and voice your opposition to the attacks on our sovereignty. Let your voices be heard over the voice of violence and repression. The Onkachog, as the original people of this land and this place, ask you for your support. And to this we say, Moniga, it is good. Thank you.
The next speaker we'd like to bring up is Randy Noka. He's with the Narragansett and with U.S. USAID. Hello, Kenny.
Good afternoon. I'll read a letter that's signed by the President of USAID, Brian Paterson, and a few remarks. My name is Randy Noka. I'm a tribal councilman for the Narragansett tribe in Rhode Island, and I'm also the Vice President of the United South and Eastern Tribes, headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. And President Paterson on August 19th sent this letter to the Mayor. On behalf of the United South and Eastern Tribes, USAID, an association representing 25 federally recognized tribes, including several from New York State, I'm writing to ask you that you apologize for your offensive comment about grabbing a cowboy hat and shotgun to resolve an issue with Native nations in your state. At best, your comment was a call for vigilante justice. At worst, it was one more example of a long line of provocative declarations by federal and state officials used whenever those officials sought to deprive Native peoples of their sovereign rights while advancing their own immoral and unjust agenda. As a whole, America has made some progress towards addressing and mending the atrocities of the past committed against Native peoples, including federal and state police that sought our eradication. Especially over the last 35 years, this country has taken steps to provide the framework and opportunity for Native nations to rebuild, prosper, and exercise their sovereignty fully, the sovereignty that predates the Constitution and is recognized in that great document. Your comment was a throwback to an earlier time when matters of rights were settled at a point of a gun. No one in America wants to return to those days. As a prominent leader, you have great responsibility to all Americans, including the first Americans.